The offensive line for the Kansas City Chiefs has gotten most of the attention this offseason, probably followed by the wide receiver position, and that is understandable as over the 3 Super Bowl run, the offensive line and the wide receiver positions both struggled for these Kansas City Chiefs. But we have a blurb from an article today that, well, points out a different spot for the Kansas City Chiefs and a spot for the Kansas City Chiefs that got similar attention to the offensive line, but should be meaningfully better, maybe one of the best rooms in the entire NFL. In an article titled My Favorite Offseason Move by Every Team from The Athletic, Mike Sando said this about the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm betting on defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo maximizing the top 2 cornerbacks Kansas City added. Veteran Christian Fulton, who played well for the Chargers last season, and third-round pick Noel Williams, who can play nickel and safety. Both project as physical pieces for Spagnuolo to utilize. They are surer bets than the players the Kansas City Chiefs added to address issues at left tackle. The Chiefs drafted a player and signed a player at cornerback the same way that they did at offensive tackle in signing Jalen Moore and drafting one of the most promising offensive tackles in the entire draft if you are willing to project just a little bit. But the cornerback position for the Chiefs is maybe one of the better in the NFL. And I want to go player by player through this because what we're looking at is a position group where the Chiefs' number 2 guy last year, Najee Johnson, is probably going to be this year's number 5 or 6, which is an impressive turnaround at one position group. Remember, he was the second starting corner, was Najee Johnson, for a meaningful portion of the season, and now he's probably the 5th or 6th guy on the roster. We'll begin with Trent McDuffie, 5'10", 193, 4.44 40-yard dash with a 1.53 10-yard split. Good numbers there for McDuffie. A very explosive 38.5-inch vertical. Not the 40-inch mark, but a good number there. 10-foot, 8-inch broad jump, and 15 reps on the bench press. That's one thing to watch as we go through these corners. Many of them were competitive enough to compete at the bench press and do pretty well there. We have here the statistics for Trent McDuffie. 27 pass deflections in his career so far, 7 forced 5 fumbles in 2023. That 2023 season was a problem for many other teams in the league, as he also had 3 sacks and 9 quarterback hits. An absolutely stupendous season from Trent McDuffie in his second year. Through his career, he has 43 starts and 2,655 defensive snaps. A very good career for Trent McDuffie to this point as he enters the final season of a 4-year deal. The Chiefs have already exercised that 5th year on his contract, meaning that he will be in Kansas City for the 5th year. I don't think he plays on the 5th year numbers. I think the Kansas City Chiefs will attempt to keep him long term. Then there is the signed Christian Fulton, 26 years old. Why do I put 26 years old on here? Well, guys, I didn't go back and check, but I'm pretty sure he's the oldest guy on this group. Everyone else is on their rookie deal, and Christian Fulton is only 26 years old. 5'11 and 5/8, basically 6 feet tall, 197 pounds, with a 4.46 40-yard dash, a 1.48 10-yard split. That is an elite number. 4.36 short shuttle and 6.94 20-yard shuttle. We didn't get those from Trent McDuffie. Then we have a 35.5-inch vert and a 10-foot 3-inch broad jump. Not the best explosive numbers, but when you have some of this speed, you can get away with that. We have a guy here who has 5 career interceptions, and where are we at here? 32 pass deflections to his credit in the NFL. Just one sack, so it's surprising to see the Kansas City Chiefs and Steve Spagnuolo go out and get him. Just kidding. Also, 2,997 snaps played on his career. That is a lot of experience for a guy that I am projecting to be the number 2 corner on the Kansas City Chiefs this year, displacing everyone else on the roster down one spot. Then we have Jaylen Watson, who missed meaningful time last year, appearing in only 6 regular season games, but he's 6'2", 197, with 32.25-inch hands, a 4.49 40-yard dash, a pretty bad 1.60 10-yard split, not great cone drill numbers, but a 38-inch vertical and 11-foot broad jump. Those are good numbers. And 18 reps on the bench press. That is an incredible number for a cornerback, especially when you're looking at a cornerback who has 32.25-inch arms. In his career, he has 1 interception in the regular season. It was a 99-yard pick six touchdown. He also can be counted on to deflect 6 passes per season, regardless of how many games or snaps he plays. 6 as a rookie, 6 in 2023, and 6 last year. I think that this is a sign he is on the come up because that's an average of 1 pass deflection per game. He also has played, so he started 14 games in the NFL, played in 38, but started 14 of them with 1,386 defensive snaps to his credit. Then we have Noel Williams, who has not played a single down in the NFL. That is worth noting, as we will get to some impressive numbers at the end of this video. 6 foot tall, 199 pounds, 6 foot and 1/2 inch, basically 4.5 40-yard dash with a 1.54 10-yard split. The 10-yard split is better by comparison than the 40-yard dash, but not numbers that will really get you into trouble in the NFL, just not the ones you would prefer to see. 33.5 vert and a 10-foot broad jump, not great numbers there either, but 19 reps on the bench press. So you have 18 reps from Jaylen Watson and 19 reps from Noel Williams. There are starting offensive linemen in the NFL that have not put up that many reps. Najee Johnson, last year's number 2 corner. The highest I can put him on this depth chart is number 5, as we find him here. 5 foot 10.25 inch, 199 pounds, 4.38 40-yard dash. Very impressive. 1.52 10-yard split. Not as impressive. 40-yard dash or 4.2 vertical leap. Very impressive. 10 foot 9-inch broad jump. Pretty good. 16 reps on the bench press with 30 and 3/8 inch arms. That's a good number, especially for a sub 200-pound cornerback. And guys, he's listed at 199. You look at him, he looks a shade over 170. So he does have density to his build. He has, in his career, 6 starts. Despite appearing in 27 games, he had 3 pass deflections and a sack last season to go along with 56 tackles and 1 QB hit. He has played 494 defensive snaps in his career, all of them last season. So a lot of the blame in this group for last year comes down to Najee Johnson. That's not fair. Najee Johnson is not a number 2 corner. Najee Johnson is an okay number 3 corner, a good number 4 corner, and a great number 5 corner. So you have a guy who is now in the spot where he belongs on an NFL roster. He's just not a number 2. That's what got him in trouble last year, is he was going up against teams' number 2 option, sometimes their primary target. So as long as he is not doing that in his role as the number 5 wide receiver, probably the Chiefs are in a much better position. Then we get to monster Josh Williams. Why do I call him a monster? He's a corner who is 6'2 and 7/8. I am still surprised he has not become a safety in the NFL, and there's no real indicator that he will be moving to safety, despite the fact that he plummeted on the depth chart last year. Heading into the season, if you remember this from training camp, etc., Jaylen Watson found himself really far down the depth chart. Joshua Williams was way up the depth chart, and by the time Jalen Watson returned to the practice field, it seemed they didn't want anything to do with him as their number 2 corner. And as time went on, he just kind of re-earned that position from Joshua Williams. But a 4.53 40-yard dash on Joshua Williams with a 1.54 10-yard split, 37-inch vertical is a good number. 10-foot 4-inch broad jump, not as impressive, but good. And 11 reps on the bench press with 33 basically inch arms. In his career, he has 12 starts despite playing in 50 games. As a rookie, he had 7 pass deflections in just 4 starts. In 2023, that fell to 5, and last year in 17 games, 6 starts, he found himself blocking, deflecting 6 passes. He also got his first career sack. He has played 1,169 snaps of defense in the NFL. This goes toward the entire top 5, top 6 names for the Kansas City Chiefs. 126 total starts, despite the fact none of them are over 26, despite the fact one of them is a rookie. This group has 126 total starts among them, with 8,701 defensive snaps. This is a young group with a ton of experience. So that needs to be remembered heading into this season for the Kansas City Chiefs. That's all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week. And as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.